Fifth Aliyah, page 39, Nechayenu, fifth Aliyah of Vayikra. Perek Dalet, chapter 4, verse 1. Vaydaber shel Moshe lemar, Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, Base, Daber al bnei Yisrael lemar, speak to the children of Israel, saying to them the following. Nefesh ki sechta v'shkagam mikol mitzvahs Hashem, a person that sins inadvertently from with any one of any of God's commandments, asher lo yiseh sana, that should not have been done, that was forbidden to be done. He also machas mehena, and indeed does one of them.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
A bull is the sin offering, right?
Let's see. I have to see. I'm not sure. I forget. I think so.
The question is, what if somebody can't afford that? Does it go the same way a dove?
I don't think so. I will see. I'm not sure. Let's see.
Okay.
Could be.
I don't know.
All right. Base. Mikol says Hashem. Speak to the children of Israel, telling them if someone who by mistake does any one of the sins of God's commandments, the rabbis explain what is in God's commandments. It's telling you that the chatas, the sin offering on a mistake, only goes on davar shezdoini lav the koris mishigase chatas. That not every sin warrants a carbon chatas. It's specifically sins of a certain category that if you do them on purpose, they would be kares penalty, cutting off the soul type thing, which shows a certain level of severity. Ma'achas meina, one of them, the mem, the prefix mem, means someone who even does from one of them. I mean, you don't have to do the whole one of them, you should do from one of them. Which means hakoise b'Shabbos shem shimoin noyach menachar don midaniel. When it writes in Shabbos shin mem noyach, we just had this in the 3 chapters of Rambam, that if you intend to write, let's say the word nachor, it's 4 letters. Typically, you have to have intention to be guilty for a sin on Shabbos. You have to have intention. You have to have awareness of what you're doing. So, for example, if I want to throw a ball in this direction, and by mistake it goes backwards, so I'm not guilty because I wanted to, but I didn't get to. What happened was not my intention. Okay, So in the laws of writing on Shabbos, the forbidden part of writing, so let's say you intend to write a name that's 4 letters, like let's say Shalom. Shalom. But you only write 2 letters, Shin Lamed. You're already guilty because shell is a word itself. Even though you wanted to do more than that, already 2 letters that make a name or a word, would be guilty.
Yeah, but I thought it was even 2 letters.
What?
I thought even 2 letters.
That's what I'm saying. I just say
even word, but what if it's just
even though you wanted to make 2 letters to make a word, I think. No, does it make a word?
I thought it was 2 letters.
I feel like they have to have. Yeah, it have to be the 2 letters that have to compose a name.
So if somebody, God forbid, puts 2 letters down, he's not over the there?
If he's intending to write a name.
Okay.
He ends up writing with the first 2 letters, but those 2 letters happen to be another name, that would make him guilty.
Right, but let's say he just writes 2 letters. He doesn't have intent.
If he intends to write 2 letters, probably.
But he only writes 2 letters.
I think if he's intending to write more, once it seems like to me the first 2 letters that are coherently a word or a name, then you're guilty. If they're just gobbledygook, then maybe not. I don't. If it's what it seems like. Gimel. So, okay. What is it? The what?
What's that translation of Mashiach?
Where's Mashiach? Oh, here now. Anointed. No. Mashiach actually means anointed. It means someone who's anointed for a purpose. So this is not. I don't think this is the Kohen Gadol. Let me see. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me see. Um, the anointed high priest. It is. You're right. Yeah, right. In Makayim Mashiach, if the anointed high priest sins, la'ashmas of a sin, bring guilt to his people. We'll see what that is in a minute. V'hikriv al chatasei ashachata par ben makar tamim la'shem lachatas. He shall bring a perfect young bull before Hashem as a sin offering to atone for the sin that he has committed. So we're talking about the Kohen Gadol that does a sin has to bring the bull as the sin offering. Let's see.
Right, but let's say he can't afford that.
He can afford it.
Okay.
The Kohen Gadol it gets money.
So this bowl goes to both the.
No, I think it's right now just for the Kohen Gadol. I think the way it's, if I'm not mistaken, the first verse is just telling you we're now going to talk about chatas, and there's different variations of different types of people that have to bring different types of chatas. So we're starting with the Kohen Gadol.
You just got an if here in the first part.
Right. If you basically put a colon after verse 2,
right,
and then it goes, if it's a Kohen Gadol, this is his process. I think if it's a regular person, it'll be a different process.
Oh, I see.
Thank you. Okay. We're holding Gimel Rashi. If the anointed high priest sins to the guilt of the people, what does it mean? Medrash means he's not chayiv unless he did something that the manner was undetective and the resultant act was unintentional, meaning he didn't know the law correctly and unintentionally acted upon his mistaken presumption of what's allowed. The simple meaning, pshuta means, according to God, that means when the Kohen Gadol sins, all the people are guilty because they depend on him to make atonement for them and to pray for them, and now he became mistakenly sinful.
Right.
So, basically, the first opinion of Rashi, the Medrash is saying that what's this weird? He makes a mistake, la'ashmas ha'am, the guilt of the people. Like, what's going on there? What's la'ash like he sinned? Like, what guilt of the people? He's sinning. What's the people? Something. La'ashmas ha'am. Like, so first he's saying, you know what? We're making a comparison of the way he is liable for this mistake is when there was similar to when the people as a whole make a mistake, when the judges make a mistake. The judges make a mistake, it's basically, I think it's the case of where the judges tell them that you could have this food on Passover, and they're wrong. Let's say it was not. So basically there's a whole procedure there of how do they deal with that? How do they do atonement for that? Mm-hmm. But the point is there had to be total lack of knowledge that this was wrong. You thought it was okay. It was wrong presumption while you were doing it. So too, the Kohen Gadol has to have total cluelessness, right, or mistaken presumption at the time of his unintentional act. That was a mistake. So that's why it's saying he's doing the sin akin to when the people sin as a whole. But the second thing is more simple, is that the Kohen Gadol is, by sinning, is messing up everybody else because they need him to be good and he's making mistakes. So he's got to atone for it.
How did he choose the Kohen Gadol?
The what?
How did he choose the Kohen Gadol?
I don't know. Probably it's the best, the smart. I don't know.
I think that all the Kohanim.
They have to agree. They vote.
Yeah, I think. Okay.
All right, I don't know. Very
So
good.
the sacrifice is only atoned for unintentional.
Unintentional. Yes, this is
Everything
unintentional.
else is if it's intentional, it's excision. You don't
get
get off the
lashes.
hook. You get
lashes.
or excision. Or both.
Yeah. Par. A bull. Yachozokin. I might think it means even an old one. The Torah therefore teaches that he's saying ben, a young one. Par ben bakar. So bulls usually mean a grown bull, but now it's a young bull. So then why? Maybe it's a young bull, like a little bull. Like so he says no, it's a par. It's a par means a full par is a term for an adult bull. So what is it? Is it a baby bull or is it a big bull? So it says the reconcile. It's in the middle. It's a bull in its third year. Hey, Dalit. Behavior saparish Pesach Hashem. He shall bring the bull to the entrance of the tent of meeting before Hashem. Samachas Yadel Shapar, and he shall rest his hand on the head of the bull. V'shachas Sapar l'fnei Hashem, and slaughter the bull before Hashem. Yeah. Hey. And the anointed priest shall take some of the bull's blood and bring it into the tent of meeting. The anointed priest shall take some of the bull's blood, the Kohen Gadol, and brings it to the tent of meeting. Okay, Rashi brings it to the tent of meeting. Tent of meeting is the Mishkan, is the sanctuary, where the menorah and the ark is. And in the equivalent, in the Beis Elamim, in the eternal temple, that would be in the sanctuary, the Heichal. So he slaughters it in the courtyard in the front. But then he brings some of the blood in a bowl, I guess, inside the sanctuary area, the inner part. Okay. Love. The Kohen shall dip his finger into blood. And spritz from the blood 7 times for Hashem.
So the slaughtering takes place outside the tent of the oil moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he dips his finger into the blood, I guess a little basin, and he spritzes in the blood 7 times for Hashem in front of the partition of the sanctuary. In front of the partition. In front of the place of its source of holiness. Which is the place of holiness, corresponds to the space between the poles. And they weren't touching, they didn't actually reach it, but if it did, so be it. The point is, he sprinkled it towards the direction of the partition in front of the Holy of Holies 7 times. Zion. Okay. The priest shall then put some of the blood on the turrets, the corners of the spice incense altar that is it's before Hashem, and it's the inner part, the sanctuary, the El Moed, the tent of meeting. Tent of meeting means the inner, the Mishkan. We call the Mishkan. There's the courtyard that has the big altar there, but then inside the courtyard there's the Mishkan. So that's the tent of meeting is. It's called Dampar, and all the blood of the cow, of the bull, he would pour to the remainder blood. He'd pour it out by the base of the sacrificial altar. Asher Pesach Lamayid, that is at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Zaim is called Dam. All the bull's blood.
Oil Moed is the term there.
I'm sorry, El Mayid is the tent of meeting. Okay. Zayin or Ches. He shall separate all the fat of the sin offering bowl, which is the fat covering the innards. It's called and all the fat that's on the innards. Rashi, all the fat of the bowl. Why it should just said it's fat? Why the fat of the bowl? You mean we're talking about the bowl the whole time. Why adding the fat of the bowl? To tell you, this includes there's another bowl offering by the Yom Kippur. You have to do the same thing to it. You have to burn its the kidneys, the fats, and the diaphragm. Hachatas, the sin offering. This includes the goat offerings that are brought as a unique sin offering for idol worship. You also have to be bringing the same stuff here: the kidneys, the fats, and the diaphragm.
Unintentional.
It could have just said it's called chelbay. All it's fat of what we're talking about, which if you follow the past 3 minutes, you know what we're talking about. This is the fat you bring. But repeats it, all the chaylev, of the bull, of the sin offering. Why are you telling me that? So each word is including another different offering for a different day that you have to do the same process.
Unintentional.
I don't think so. Maybe, I'm not sure. I don't know if those. I'm not sure. Maybe. Could be. All right.
Yeah, but isn't intentional?
I'm saying I don't know what those other things are. Right. I guess. Right. I get. Probably makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So we just said that all the sacrifices only atone for unintentional sins.
Right.
Right. Intentional. You're
yeah. Right.
Okay. I guess I just don't know those things offhand, but it makes sense. Okay. He shall then separate all the fat. We saw Rashi, next Rashi, he shall separate from it. This means he separate from the animal when it's still in attached state. Meaning he should not cut up the animal into pieces before he removes these fats. Tess. And as well, you also have to bring up the the kidneys and the fat on them. The fat on the axle and the flanks. Yes, it says I'll cover the diaphragm besides the liver, and the kidneys you have to remove. Yud, Kashira, Mishar, Zevach Shalom. Just like we talked about, similar. I know this is like regular, like double, boiled in trouble. It's like, it's the same. Mike, I think, gets it. It's fine. It's like, like the voodoo, the same thing we talked about. The same thing we talked about in the same process by the shlamim. I take that back. Bad joke.
Yeah,
the point is that
it's okay.
The same process that we did by the shlamim, which was the same pieces of the meat in the diaphragm, gets burned up. Same thing here by the next offering, the sin offering. And the kohen offers on the sacrificial altar. Yud kasher yudam, just as it was separated. Just as it was separated, those designated parts that are stated explicitly regarding the ox of the peace sacrifice. Whatever is stated explicitly regarding the peace sacrifice that's not stated explicitly here. So Narash is a good point. The Torah went ahead and repeated itself and said, bring A, B, C, D, E, V, whatever. And then it says, and by the way, it's the same thing as the shlamim. They don't spell it out. Just say it's the same thing. And we'll look back there. I don't know what to do. Why do you spell out the 10 steps? They say, by the way, it's the same thing as there. Why is it helpful? If you already took the time to spell it out, why are you referencing back there? So it says, here's another reason why it's mentioning that it's similar to the shlamim, to the peace offering, to compare in a certain way. Why? For another comparison. That just like the peace offering It has to be brought for its designated purpose. When you bring it, you have to have intention. Bring the shlamim, which is a certain type of offering goal. Ma shlam shalom, just like shlamim is shalom la'olam, avzeh shalom la'olam. And just like the shlamim was a very feel-good offering, it brought peace to the world. This too, the sin offering, which is less, feel-good maybe, it's atoning. It also brings peace to the world. Atonement also brings peace to the world.
Wow.
All right. The bull's hide and all its flesh, beside its head and its feet, its innards and its excrement. Rashi. Kasher Yuram. Oh wait, I skipped the Rashis. Next page, 44. In Shchitas Kachim, which is a tractate, the Gemara of Zvachim, it says the comparison to the Shlamim offering is to derive that the rule regarding sacrifices, one cannot deduce another law from it, that itself is deduced from somewhere else by comparison. This is a little Talmudic for my brain at this moment, but
That's hard to understand.
so let's typically, if I say this, you do the same thing to this, like the other thing that we talked about. Okay. But let's say there's things in the thing that you're comparing to, that you're trying to learn from, that they themselves are learned from another place by comparison. So let's say A is the sword. Let's say B is let's say you want to learn C. What do you do with C? C is like B. But B has a part of it that is, we only know what you do in, let's say B is 10 steps. Let's say 2 of the steps you know because it's compared to A. You can't learn C. You can't learn those parts of B.
Yeah, you can't use the inferences.
Right. They don't carry. When you compare C to B and part of B to A, the part of B that is itself not explicit, but it's learned by inference, it doesn't carry over to C.
Right.
I think.
The Torah says, I'm giving you everything right here. Don't look at
Therefore, it says here, right.
This type of sacrifice has its own, like, silo. It's its own. And
I think so.
Purpose and everything.
I'm not sure what other things, because if it had just done, and this is not looking, I'm not even looking at the Gemara, I'm just like guessing here, but it sounds like if it would have just said, do whatever he said, do what the Shlomim does,
like I told you before,
right? Then things, I'm not sure what's not clear there, because seemingly everything was spelled out there, but it wanted to show you that, I don't know, I have to see it. It's really, you can take a moment to see if there's Zvachim here. They don't have the full set here, so all right. Whatever.
But you were thinking
the point is there's a limitation to how much you can infer from places. Right. That's why it spells it out. You can infer what's clear, but not what you can't infer from something else that's inferred. Okay. All right, moving on. You got to bring the kidney besides the liver beside the kidneys on its head and on its feet. In these cases, al means besides, not on means besides. Yud Aleph, you as well bring the bull's hide, its flesh besides its head and its feet, and its innards and its excrement. So what are you doing? You're burning it? Oh, no. Regarding this, the waste part of the animal, what do you do? You take that that the whole bull outside the camp to a ritually pure place, the place where the ashes are deposited. It's the dumping ash dump, dumpster, and burn it there in fire and wood. And al sheva chadash yisrael, and then it should be burned in the place where the ashes are deposited. What does Rashi say? You bring it to a ritually pure place. Since there are places outside the town that are set aside for impurity, for example, to cast stones affected by tsaras, and for a cemetery, so to say outside the camp is being a pure place, because a lot of times outside the camp, a lot of times it references places that are specifically impure because the cemetery goes outside the city limits, outside the town. So we're saying here, this is not the typical way. So if I would do a free word association of outside the camp, you think, okay, the impure place. It says, no. In this case, it's the pure place outside the camp. So I have to specify that.
There's pure and impure.
Exactly.
Outside.
There's both.
It's just not the holiness of the inner.
Yeah, it's just right. It's just a ritually uncontaminated place. It's not a holy place. It's ritually uncontaminated.
It's not the highest level.
No, it's not even that. It's mundane. It's not a holy place. It's just not an impure place.
Okay. All right.
Outside the camp, outside the three camps, and when this sacrifice is offered in the house of eternity in Beis Hamikdash, it means outside the city, as the sages outside explained in Tractate Yuma and Tractate Sanhedrin. You're saying? Let's go out and invite there. El Sheva Chadashin, to the place where the ashes that are removed from the altar are deposited. So basically, one of the big things was a lot of ashes, so they had to shovel them out and deposit them in outside the camp area. So
Where'd they go, Rabbi?
What?
Where'd they go after the pile of ashes?
They burned it. I mean, it was
but after that,
it sunk into the ground.
Yeah, Hashem opened the earth.
That place or the other place?
Oh,
because there's temporary holding place on the side of the altar that's in the, and there's this place kind of like the dumpster. I mean, the dump area. I mean, I don't know, maybe. But it says here, let's see, when the ash was removed from the altar and deposited, they then go outside the camp. It should be burned in that place, the ash deposited. This is in order to, why did I mention this? That even if no ashes were there present, let's say they disintegrate into the ground, they swallow into the ground, whatever, still that's the place. The place is the place. And that's
These are the ashes from the near time.
The ashes from the altar, yeah.
From the incense altar.
No. From the animal altar. Incense altar is like small and smells good. I'm not sure what to do with it. The incense altar, the main altar. The main altar was heavy.
You're saying there's more than one place that they put the ashes? After they use them for voda?
Yeah. I think so. There was a temporary place and there was the dump, Okay, Gimel. Now another case. So now we talked about if the high priest makes a mistake, an inadvertent mistake, a sin by mistake, without knowing, unintentional. So what does he do? He's got to do with the bull. Okay. Next, another category of unintentional, which is in Kladas Yisrael Yishkum Elam Davar Miniyakol. Let's say the whole community of Israel does something wrong by mistake, and it was hidden, and it was undetected from the eyes of the community. And they didn't know it was wrong. And they did one of the things they should not have done, one of God's things they should have done, and they incurred guilt. So Rashi says, first of all, Adas Yisrael, if all the assembly means actually the Sanhedrin. What do you think here? So here we're talking where the Sanhedrin, the Supreme Court gives a wrong interpretation of something that's allowed. They say it's allowed and it was not allowed. So the people are now acting upon that. It says Rashi, Nelam Davar is undetected. They made a mistake to rule by one of all the Krisa Shabbatera, Shumutter, that is permitted. Hakal so the community the community acted according to the ruling. When the sin which the community committed becomes known, They shall offer they shall offer a young bull, lechatas, a sin offering, and bring it in front of this tent of meeting.
Rabbi, all these unintentional sins show that nobody's perfect except for Hashem.
Very good. So in the sin, they realized it was a big mistake. They ruled wrongly, and people sinned en masse. Then they offer a young bull as a sin offering in front of the tent of meeting. Okay. So test evolved. What do? They the young bull. The They then the elders, I think the judges, they lean their hands on the head of this bull, and they then slaughter someone slaughters the bull before Hashem.
I have a comment to what Pesach David just said.
Yes.
Hashem has regrets. He says he regrets he, for instance, appointed Saul king one time. In another case, he almost regrets that he had creation. So Hashem himself judges that he has made mistakes, or he may have made mistakes. Hashem is not 100% sure either, in my opinion.
That's a very literal reading of it.
Whatever. That's what I've picked up over the years.
No, it's true. It says that. I'm saying, but you have to understand that causes theological questions, like God made mistakes.
You cannot define who God is. God always says, "I will be who I will be," and that's what it comes right down to.
And what does that mean?
That means that if God decides that he regrets something, or he made a mistake, or he's not 100. You're saying that God has to be perfect. That's your definition of God. You're not allowed to define God. God says, "I will be who I will be."
But you're defining God as imperfect. That's you're making.
I'm defining God as no. I didn't say that. You're the one
who just said he's imperfect.
You have some notion of what perfect is in your mind, and I'm saying that you cannot use that.
But why can you define him as imperfect for the same price?
I didn't say that.
You're defining the other way.
I did not define him the other way. I'm not. I can't define God. I cannot. It's impossible.
You did, though. You just did. You said he makes
mistakes. I didn't. I said he agree. Sometimes I tried to address what Pesach David said, that God that God does not make a mistake. God has regrets. And it's almost the same thing in my mind.
You just defined God in your own words.
I'm not defining God. I'm using his own words. No, I'm trying to use God's own words to say what I believe about God.
You're using one word that
I'm using God's own language, Rabbi.
That doesn't mean you're understanding it fully in the full context.
Maybe I don't, but I'm telling you what I hear,
okay.
what I've come to believe.
I'm saying my point. I'm saying is that the basic Rambam is, the Rambam gives a basic understanding that why do we want to say God's perfect? You want to know why? Because if you don't say God's perfect,
you don't even know what perfect is, Rabbi. None of us do.
When you say God changed his mind, you just made a duality in God. There's a before and after.
I'm
just made duality. You just made.
I can read as literally as I please.
Okay, I'm explaining to you why. It's not me. This is the Jewish philosophers and commentators would have trouble. Why they comment on this? Why they pick up on it, and they say when you say God regrets in a literal sense, like God didn't know something. Well, now you just made two domains. He knows and he doesn't know.
No, that's not what I said. No, God does not have.
We're going to move on. We're not getting anywhere.
We go on because you're not getting anywhere. Okay, you go on.
Okay.
Anyway, I apologize, but I have to leave at 10 a.m.
Okay, we got to finish up then. All right, your test is called Chalba Yarmi Men and Victim is Becha. He shall separate. No, I'm sorry. We're in your test sign. The anointed priest shall then bring some of the bull's blood to the tent of meeting. Tesain 16. The Kohen the anointed, the high priest brings from the blood to the tent of meeting. The Kohen shall dip his finger from some of the blood into the blood. And then spritz it 7 times for God as in front of the parochas, the partition. Zayin, Espre Pareches, in front of the partition. Above, however, it says in front of the partition of the sanctuary. Okay, so before we talked about it, said you sprinkled in front of the sanctuary. And here we don't say the sanctuary. So they're the prochas. Why the difference? Why do we spell it out there? When you're spritching the blood for the Kohen Gadol's mistake, it says you spritch it towards the direction of the parochas of the inner sanctum, of the Kodesh. And here, it's not saying the holy, it doesn't spell it out. It says you spritz the blood towards the curtain. The difference can be explained by means of a parable of a king. One of his states revolted against him. If only a minority of that state revolted, his dominion is still established. But if the entire state revolts, then his dominion is no longer established. Here too, when the anointed priest has sinned, there is still the name of sanctity upon the temple. When everyone has sinned, God forbid, the sanctity has departed. So before it was one person, the Kohen Gadol, very important, but still just one. So it's still, you can say there's still holiness in the, it didn't, have a pervasive effect on the holiness because most of the people didn't sin, just the Kohen Gadol sinned. Okay, he's a big person. So, but here, when we're saying that the Supreme Court, by their bad ruling of halacha, they caused everybody to sin. So now there is a certain lack of holiness in the temple until it's fixed. Right. Hence, it omits the term, the partition of the holy, of the sanctuary. All right. Some of the blood he shall put on the turrets of the altar. It's before God. Hashem. That's in the tent of meeting. It's called dam yishpech, and all the rest of the blood you pour to the base of the sacrificial altar. Asher Pesach Oil. That's in the altar is in the front. It's inside the courtyard, entrance of the courtyard. Rashi, Yisrael Mizbach Oil Asher Pesach Omeid. You bring it to the base of the altar. This is, if you want to know the details, Rashi says it means the base of the western side of the altar, which faces the entrance.
No,
it's opposite the entrance. The opposite. It's the opposite. It faces. It's opposite the entrance. I don't know. Let me see what it says.
Right. The west.
no, the west is facing towards the sea. It's the opposite towards the entrance. The west is facing towards the west.
Of the entrance.
I think
It's right. It's adjacent the entrance. That might be a better word.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. So the west side. Okay.
Oh, it does say?
Yeah.
Shka!
All right. Moving on. Your test is called Chalbi Yarv Meadow. He shall separate all its fat from it, pick up its mecha, and burn it up on the altar. Separate its fat and burn up on the altar. Rashi. Your test he separates all its fat, even though it does not state here explicitly that you bring the diaphragm and the kidneys as it does elsewhere. We overstated that before. They're inferred from the next verse that he shall do with the bull just as he did with the bull of the sin offering. Why, however, they're not mentioned here. Did we say we want to express everything? It was taught in the yeshiva Rabbi Yishmael about this can be a parable of a king who was angry with his favorite, but abridged the account of his offense because of the affection he had for him. Mm-hmm. So here, the people messed up. The Supreme Court messed up, but Hashem didn't want to belabor the point. So it speaks about it in kind of a shorthand and relies what it says elsewhere. Should do with the bull as he did with the bull of the sin offering. He does with the bull as he did with the bull of the sin offering. Ken Yasle, so he shall do with it. And the priest shall make an atonement for them, and they'll be forgiven.
We're still on the mistake by the Sanhedrin?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Chav Rashi, he should do the bull as he did with the sin offering. What's to say explicitly by the bull by the high priest, the anointed priest. This phrase is adding that you have to bring the diary for the two kidneys, which is states there explicitly, but not here. Also repeats the commandment of the acts of service. Teach that if one of the placements of the blood is omitted and the offering becomes invalid. For we find regarding the blood placed in the outer altar that it was placed as one placement instead of the prescribed number. Right, you do 2, which is 4. But here it says, even though it's kind of like a general, just throw it on, it's good. Here, each placement of the 7 placements is necessary in order to invalidate the whole service. Chavalov. He brings the bull outside the camp, burns it where he burned the first bull, and this is a sin offering of the community, as we said. Okay, next category of unintentional sin. Next page 48. Let's say the leader of the people sins unintentionally. And he does one of the commandments of Hashem, his God, that may not be done, and thereby incurs guilt. Asher nasi yechta, as a leader of the people sins. The term asher here is related in meaning to ashrei, praises. Praised is the generation whose leader takes heart to bring atonement for his unintentional sin. He certainly regrets his intentional sins. So every other section it starts im. Here it says asher. Why? To play on words. So we say that if the fortunate, asher is also could be double play in words. Fortunate is the generation that their leaders admit their mistakes. So the bottom of 174, footnote 174, the Gur Aryeh says that everybody, everybody should own their mistake. So why is this singling it out by the leader that makes the mistake? So he says, because a leader could be much more arrogant and stand by their, cannot admit their mistake. So when you have a leader that's humble, that admits his mistake, the kingdom will last. Because the tendency of kings and leaders is to become arrogant.
Mark.
Moving along. Chaf Gimel. If the sin he committed was made known to him, maybe his Kamarna Sarizim Zachar Tamim. If the sin he committed was made known to him, he shall then bring his required offering, a young perfect male goat. He brings the carbon, which is a goat, a male goat, perfect. Chav Gimel Hoida. When it was Hoda means if. O here means if it was known to him. O could sometimes mean if, and if can mean or. Onoda Kishar Nagachu. Shpruim means if. Okay. Hoida love was made known to him. When he sinned, he thought it was permissible. But afterwards it became known to him that it was forbidden. Shall rest his hand on the head of the young goat. Shall rest his hand on the head of the young goat and slaughter it in the place in the place that he would slaughter the burnt offering before Hashem.
That means the Nasi himself has to slaughter it. What if he
I don't know.
doesn't
He rests his hand. I don't know. Does he slaughter? Maybe. I'm not sure. Does he slaughter it?
It says. I mean, that's the way the
Yeah.
translation.
Let's see. He leans it. Yeah. Sounds like he does it. Okay. Chavdalid, in the place that he would slaughter the burnt offering on the north side of the altar, which is explicitly regarding the burnt offering. Yeah, the north side of the offering. Okay. The priest shall take some of the blood of the sin offering with his finger, and he shall put it on the turns of the sacrificial altar. And the blood he shall pour on the base of the sacrificial altar. Chatas was a sin offering. The sin offering was slaughtered for its designated purpose, it's valid. Not for its designated purpose, it is not valid. Chav. Hey, it's blood, the rest of the blood you pour. Chavav is kol chaba yakter is beicha. He shall burn up what's fat on the altar. Kichilav zevach hashlamim in the same way as the fat of the peace offering. Chibur lava kain mechatas and he shall make an atonement for him from his sin, and he will be forgiven. Like the fat of the peace sacrifice, like those designated parts are stated explicitly regarding the goat mentioned above the peace offering.